Hello everyone. I welcome all of you to our first ever technical webinar by DSC DDU. I am Vivek Parmar, the lead of DSC DDU, and today we have Kaushal Rohit with us. Hi Kaushal.
Yeah, hi Vivek.
Yeah, Kaushal is one of the core team members and he is very passionate about open source. He just loves to contribute to open source projects. And today he will be talking about how you can start your journey with open source projects. So Kaushal, before moving ahead, I would like to ask you that how did you start contributing in open source projects?
Okay, so actually it all starts back in November, I think. November of 2018. Yeah, so I worked on this thing called eYantra. That's where I actually learned the details of Python, the details and workings of Python. I used external libraries with it like NumPy, PyTorch, etc. And I was really fascinated by that. I was already involved in things like Linux, tinkering with Linux, etc. This is where I actually learned professional programming, I would say. After that, I interned in the summer at Infobis. Then I also worked again at Infobis in the winter. And that's where I gained most of my knowledge regarding Pandas, which is a Python library again. See, Python is a very friendly ecosystem to get into. So yeah, that's where I
Yeah.
and uh, that's when I started contributing to Pandas. I looked up some bugs in it that were filed using this website called Code Triage, and I knew how the API worked. I knew how Python code works, so I just submitted a pull request that this will fix the bug, and that's when my first pull request got accepted, and that's when my journey in open source started. Since then, I've contributed to Pandas, Docker Compose, and today I'm going to contribute to MyPy on live stream. So yeah, that's also fun.
That is amazing. Yeah, so could you brief about what we are going to uh, see today in this session?
Yeah. So I will go over the whole process of how I find issues to contribute to, how I can know how to tackle them, and like in the start, it will be interactive, but by the mid of the session, it's most probably me just coding into. But also be giving people in the live stream pointers to uh, how am I doing this, right? What is the logic behind my thought process or the code that I've written, the code that I've changed. Yeah, that's about it. And I'll
Amazing.
finally, if
So I would
I
like
solve the issue.
to
So finally, if I solve the
okay.
issue, I just
Yeah,
put a
so
P.
great. Yeah, and I would like to tell our audience that we will be having a small Q&A section at the end. So if you have any queries, then you can just you know just drop a message in chat box, or during the session if you have any doubts, then feel free to write in the chat box, and we will try to solve your queries. So let's get started. Over to you, Kaushal.
All right. Yeah. So let's switch to my screen. Okay. My first starting point is usually code triage. So code triage is this website where you can list open source projects with issues, and you can filter them by languages. So these are all the most popular open source projects with the highest amount of issues. And today my language is Python, right? So this is Python. There's a bit of a bug here. Yeah, so these are all Python projects. As you can see, there's pandas here, uh, right? So today we're gonna go to MyPy. This is the MyPy project. So to find a project to contribute to, I've went through all of these and I've looked at their source code. I found one which has good documentation, easy to understand, good for beginners. Out of these, I guess Pandas and Zulip are actually very approachable projects. ERP Next as well. Like even beginners can contribute to these projects, right? And so let's go with MyPy. Okay. So let's find an issue first. So most of the projects have this good first issue label in them for issues. So you can just sort by that and we can see all of the issues that are here. Now I already scouted the project and I found an issue which I can tackle. So this one, right? Okay, let me just go over the project's details. What is MyPy? So Python has this thing called type annotations. So we can provide type hints as to what the type of that variable is going to be. It does not enforce the type. So I can do something like if is greeting, right? Supposed to take a string and return a string, but I can also do it like int, int, right? And it will still do its same. Right, it still works. Basically, it's not enforcing the types. So MyPy is a software that enforces these types. Now I cannot, if I had this in a program, let's say, let me just write dummy.py where we put greeting and let me try MyPy. I don't have MyPy. Also, those of you who are in the live stream, you guys can ask questions anytime, right? If you guys have confusion anywhere or want me to repeat something, just put a comment in the live stream. Cool. Yeah, so this has no issues, right? And if I again change the code to something like int and int, it will still run, but MyPy will give an error. So string and int cannot be concatenated together. So that's the task of MyPy, that it provides static type checking at compile time. Why is this helpful is in big projects, this can give you a lot of sanity. Okay, so let's take a look at the issue that we are getting in this project. It says generate better error messages for incompatible keyword arguments. What are keyword arguments in Python? Let's try the same file again. Yeah, so Python has this thing called keyword arguments, which can be used like a dictionary So it is a variable amount of arguments that can be used. Now, type of quarks is big, which we can prove here. And we can so keys and values are inbuilt methods for dictionary types, right? So now I can pass any amount of arguments. The type as well. And I can get these in the dictionary as a result. So let's run this. Right, so as you can see, my arguments have turned into keys for the dictionary, and the values have turned into as you can see, the arguments are turned into keys for dictionary, and the values are the values of the dictionary, right? And the type of the quark is a dictionary. Basically, it can provide variable arguments. So now in the debate with MyPy is that what is the type of these variable arguments? It cannot decide what type is of the variable arguments. So we can provide integers, as you can see, we can provide strings, but how to decide that? For that, there's a thing called type tick. So we can have this, but without this, MyPy throws an error, right? That the types are incompatible. So let's try this code they have given in the issue itself. Every project has this thing that they provide an issue scaffold, and the issue scaffold contains all the minimal things required to file an issue. Right? Let's try this thing in our file. Yeah, so we now have errors which are the same as given here. That it went to dumps. That is our method has incompatible type string. That is a key value string, and the value associated with the key is integer, while expected boolean, right? Cool. So now we know the issue. We have the overview of the program. Let's set up a development environment to work in. Most of the projects have this thing called contributing in any manner. They have a documentation for how to contribute to them. If you can look in the docs, yeah, here it is. Quick start for contributing to MyPy. So first thing is cloning the Git repository, right? So what I've already done is I've forked the repository. It's in my GitHub. So as you can see, this has been forked from Python MyPy, right? And I can clone this and I can begin working on it. So so they have a Gitter, which is like IRC or Slack, where we can contact them if we have any issue with contribution, right? There's a code of conduct that one has to follow when contributing. It is very important for that newcomers always read this, right? This is a very important document. I've already been through it. So as they've said, first time contributors have these following things to work on. So good first issue is one of these things that first time contributors can look at to contribute into. So this is also a very nice document on how to contribute to open source project, forking projects, cloning them, and then making PRs to them, right? They have the developer guide for getting us started, learning resources, implementation overview, everything. So this is like a documentation of the whole project. It's very beginner friendly. Now we need to get started with cloning the project.
Hi, Kaushal.
Yeah.
We have a question from the world,
Mhm.
and he's asking what is typeset.
Typeshed. Yeah. So the typeshed is how Python, how they provide types to projects which do not have types included in them. Now, the thing about typings is that not every project has them. So let's suppose you have a method which is strictly typed, and you have a method which is not strictly typed. Something like def library one, smart, right, and some other library you're also using which supports MyPy as type ends. This is for fetching the result, right? So how do you deal with a library which does not have typings? So the typeset of MyPy provides typings for these libraries, which we can look into. This is for the standard Python library that we have access to, right? So for example, Python 3.7, this provides types to the abstract-based classes that Python provides in its library. For other things, Python has already types built into the library. For only these two, the types are to be provided. So as you can see, they are using this weird operator called ellipsis, which is a part of Python. So there's an operator called ellipsis in Python, which can be used to suggest pending implementation. Like I can have class pending implementation ellipsis. Now this class has pending implementation, but I can still create objects out of it. Right? So the typeset basically uses this to create types for existing classes. So ABC meta is a inbuilt thing in Python. The new is a magic method for which we are providing types. Register is a method of it, which is for again which we are providing types. It also has a support for third-party libraries. So short library typed abstracts and text tree. So AST is a library of Python with which you can parse Python code. So providing types for that. Ellipsis for suggesting that is just a definition. Right? It's like you can say header file of a C program. Cool. Is that clear enough?
I guess so. And Utsav is asking, I want that terminal. What is it?
Yeah, it's a program called Tilix, which has this thing called fake mode. So I can tile multiple windows as well here. Like I can open a new window. I can open a window on the other side. I can switch between them with control alt 1, 2, 3, right? So you should look into Twilix if you want this kind of a terminal. It also I'm also using this thing called C shell with extensions for auto completion and such, themes auto completion, etc. Right. So let's continue. Uh, so I just add forking the project. I've already forked the project. You can just do it by clicking on the fork here in GitHub. Right. All I need to do is clone this project. It will take some time because the project is huge. So we have the project cloned. Now in Git, there's a thing called origin. Origin is the uh, link from where we copied the project. The project is hosted on GitHub, right? For us, origin is the fork that I have created because I've copied, cloned from my fork. Uh, and the name of our event is from origin to upstream. So we have this naming convention in open source is that we set origin as our fork and we set a thing called upstream, which is another remote, basically a remote to the Git repository, and it points to the original project. So here you can see the origin points to my repo, right? So we will just add Git remote, add stream, and we will clone. We'll get the clone path here. So this is now our upstream. We can pull from both origin and upstream. So I can do pull origin or I can do upstream master. And my repo will be up to date with. So as you can see, there are some changes and our fork is 11 commits behind, right? I pulled and I can just push it to origin. And now we are up to date. The branch is even with this branch. So that's the point of today's event, that whatever code changes we make in origin, we have to deliver them to upstream. So I prefer code editor for Python is VS Code. So this is the MyPy repo, and let's see how to install it. So usually the projects like these have this thing called setup.py. All installable Python libraries have a setup.py, right? So which can be used by pip install to install the library. Now I tend to create an environment for all of my work. So I just create an environment using Anaconda called MyPy, which has Python 3. It's activated and install current project in MyPy. Do we have MyPy right now? I don't have MyPy. Let's install the current directory as MyPy. So there is a command called pip minus install minus e, which means editable. Okay. Yeah, so minus e provides the editable project basically. So if I do this, okay, I guess MyPy still has some additional setup things. So we have cloned the repo without submodules. It has some Git submodules. So the type shed is, I guess, a Git submodule. It's another Git directory inside the Git. Submodule, I guess many of you may not be aware of the submodules in Git. Basically, you can use another Git repo inside a Git repo, right? So let's just add our submodule here.
Oh, sir, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you, but one of the participants is asking if you can increase the font size a little bit, or you can just zoom out, zoom in.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Great.
Is that good enough?
I guess yes. And in code editor too.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. So the type shed was a submodule that we just initiated. Right? Now I guess we can get started with pip install editable current project. This will install the project into my Anaconda environment, and we'll now have the MyPy command. And if I do which MyPy, it's the current MyPy ESV points to MyPy, which is my current project, right? So let's try it on the previous file. We had the dummy file, right? So currently we have the original MyPy. Let's change to our environment, and now we have this. What is the which command? I guess many people may be wondering that. Let me increase the terminal size. What is the which command? I guess so. Which command points prints out the path of the binary that we're using as an executable. And so let's try a MyPy with dummy.py, and we have our errors. Right. Okay. Now we're using our local code, and we can start tinkering with the code. So our issue is that the error messages we're printing are not good enough. Now the thing with messages is that it's probably a string which has format in it, right? And as we can see, there are some common parts to this, like the front is common. It has the 6, which is probably formatted into it. Argument 2 is probably formatted into it. Dumps part is formatted into it. This is so basically we have something that's common, has incompatible type expected, an argument, right? So it has to be in the code base somewhere. Let's try to search for it. This is how I usually proceed with all of my issues. Like I've solved one in Docker Compose, for which PRs. For this as well, I did the same thing. This was a feature request. It has been reviewed. So the feature request was basically uh, adding an additional option, right? So I looked up the current options in the current code base, and that's how I found the code that works with options in the command line. So for this thing, we're also going to do the same thing. Let's look up the common part in the current code base. There are lots of files with it. These are called RST files are actually called restructured files, restructured text, which is format for providing Python documentation. There is a thing called Sphinx, which auto generates documentation. Sphinx Python. We use it at our workplace as well. Like it's a very good tool, and you all should look into it as well and try to integrate in your current projects as well if you have any Python projects. It automatically creates web pages. For example, let's suppose NumPy as the documentation. It's probably auto-generated by Sphinx. is what is the reference, I guess. Yeah, this is auto generated by Sphinx. The search function is provided by Sphinx. Indices, tables, everything. All of this is provided by Sphinx, and these are doc strings of the methods which automatically gets generated here. Right. So let's ignore documentation for now. We only care about Py files, and there's only a single Py file. Cool. So item has incompatible type. We don't have the keyword item. We don't have entry either, neither list comprehensive set dictionary. We have this argument as incompatible type expected. Yes, right? Yeah, so I guess that's it. We have found the place where we have to change code. Uh, let's try if this is actually working. So as you can see, we have incompatible types here. Let's try changing this to compatible types. Yeah, so this change, and voila, this is the part where we have to change. So now how should I change their message is the question, right? So they have provided some ideas as to what should be done, like generate a single error message instead of all of these. Okay, right. So they are generating this message for every argument type. Okay, so the doc here has been provided for this function that is incompatible argument, which is called for any argument which has an incompatible type attached with it, right? We have other parameters, type of the argument, the kind of argument, which is probably an enum. Context is traceback, right? There's just a type workaround sort of thing. We can ignore that for now. Guys, I'm taking a short break for just a minute. I'll be back in a minute. I have something. Something has come up, basically. Be back in a minute. Yeah, I'm back. So let's continue. Yes, we have to work around with archetype and argument kind. For a lot of people, this code might be a bit hard to read. That's because MyPy does not have a strict formatting sort of thing. In a project like Pandas, there is a formatting spec that needs to be followed, right? In cases like this, what I do is if I not edited the code, I just format it for a little while until. Okay, so it's asking me which formatter to use. There's a formatter called black, right? Yes, so I installed black and formatted the code. So this looks better, I'd say. Yeah, so this looks way better than what we had before, at least for me. So now the code is easier to read. So while we read, we can do this, but for actual work, we will have to use their formatting. Cool. So I guess they have instead of enums, they have constant integers for working with argument types. There's positional arguments, optional arguments. Star arguments are list, and I guess arg star two are uh, keyword arguments. As you can see, double star arg list. These are dictionaries, right? So we have to deal with code, which is working with arg star two in incompatible argument method. Not in notes, but here. So this is just to print what the argument is. Cool. So now we have an idea of how the message is formed. If it's an arg star two, if it's not an instance of a type dictionary, then it's returned as an error, right? Okay, so it looks like this whole method is being called for every incompatible arg star 2. Instead, we just want incompatible argument to be called just once if there is an arg star 2, that is basically a dictionary, right? Let's get a version format back and search for where it is being called. Okay, there's also a thing called notes. Let's try appending a note. that use type dictionaries. Okay, cool. So notes do not work that way. So yeah, we can use this kind of debugging as well. That just print whatever you think is the argument. Like, so we can understand data flow using this. Like where is the data actually going, right? And we are calling checkout. Yeah, so we have our archetypes here, and in we had two arguments, that is an empty dictionary and quarks. So we have a dictionary here, any, and we have quarks. Let's also print argument kinds. So yeah, we have 0, 4. 4 means it's star 2, arg star 2. As you can see here, that arg star 2 is 4. Okay, for an argument to be quarks, it needs to be a subclass of typing dot mapping. So we've all learned about generics, variants, invariants, covariants, right? So as in Python, Python is here. In Python, you have this thing called typing. It is same as typeshed, I'd say. So we have this type called mapping. Typing, import mapping. Now anything of the type mapping is can be uh, like it inherits from the type mapping, the type dictionary, and also import dictionary. Dictionary is a covariant of the type mapping. Basically, it inherits from mapping. Like I cannot really find a good explanation online right now. But yeah, dictionary is something that inherits from mapping because it's a mapping of string to integers and so on. So you can create custom dictionaries as well, which inherits from dictionary class, which will inherit from mapping class. Hence, it can be a valid quarks, that is keyword argument. Right. So that's all this method does. So we are passing a dictionary, so this is fine. We don't have to make a change here. And now we are expanding the keyword argument, I guess. In here. See, our actual argument is a typed quarks dictionary. We have to return the next matching type dict value based on formal argument name and kind. Now this is where we have to make the change. Okay, we still have this dictionary as our actual type in check argument. Cool. So checkout is optional, and if it is none, then we use self.checkout. So that's this, yeah, which calls incompatible argument. So now we have original caller type as our actual type in this method. However, it is called for every key value pair inside the dictionary that we have passed. If you want to print a single message, the change needs to be done here. For this for loop, we need to check for arc star 2. Can anyone tell me why we should generate a single error message instead of multiple? Like I would prefer multiple here because a type dictionary is like we might have mismatches inside the type dictionary, so we need to get error messages down to the or down to all the mismatches. So let us try adding a note suggesting the use of a type dictionary for quarks argument. Okay, so we, we can add a note where we check for arc star 2 and then for the message. So for every arc star 2, if we have an error in its type, we add a note to use type dictionary or dictstr for star star quarks. Right, so this works. Let's try it on a. So I have to have used dictionary and str which I have to input from typing. Okay, no note here. Cool. So this works because the types are fine. They match with str any. If I was to change one of these, let's suppose this was 3 mapped to 2. Yeah, it gave an error that we got int while we expected a string mapped with any other type. Now we need a note here which is not been printed. Add entry as okay, cool. So the problem is not in the fact that keyword arguments are. The problem is that we are unpacking a dictionary as keyword arguments. Okay, so now we need a type dictionary. We need to provide a note that use type dictionary instead of this here. I guess my mic was off. Uh, so I was saying that we should try when we're stuck. We should try triaging to the issue on GitHub itself, right? The maintainers of the repository usually reply with how we should proceed ahead. They are benevolent enough to give a reply. It might take some time because even they are busy people. They have to maintain open source repo, right? But yeah, they always get back. And Gitter is also a very nice resource to talk to people regarding this. We are not printing our kind here. I can't seem to process why because we are getting the message here, right, which is generated here. Oh, I am in a different MyPy environment. I deactivated Wanda by mistake, and here we go. Okay, so we have the node now that use type dict or dict str ini for unpack coax, right? But that shouldn't be the actual node. Okay, let's try. Data is equal to data of type dict trne. So this showed a Kerber error. Yeah, so they solved our issue that we provided a type to the unpack the argument which will be unpacked as dict strne, and it got unpacked into proper arguments because that's because our keys are strings and the values are any type, which means it can be integer, it can be str, it can be boolean, and I can even go on adding a d, which is some, let's say I create my own type. Uh, New type equals type r. Let's suppose I create this vector type. So this can be vector, and we just have to pass a vector here. It will still pass, right? Cool. Let's suppose we have, so instead of this any, we do a union. A union and a union of int, string, bool, vector, and we add an extra type. Ef, let's say, which is neither a vector nor int, string, or boolean. Let's add a list of integers. And f is supposed to be list of, say, let's make f a vector. Now it will throw an error. Okay, I guess we can't even use union either. We need concrete types instead of union. So we need a type dictionary. Cool, so we have to import from typing extensions. Import type name movie and its arguments. So for us it's arguments. So uh, varargs type date is equal to name of the date, that is varargs, and what should be the types. So A gets int, B right, and this is our dictionary type. Try with MyPy, success. Cool, so we can remove all of these debugging messages. Cool, now suppose we pass unmatching data to this. We got an error. and we didn't get a note because this is an error not in the type dictionary, not in varargs, but the error is in declaration of the data of varargs. So varargs is correct. Let's suppose this was int. Now this is correct and this is correct, but unpacking this in myfunc will should give an error for f, right? Let's try it out. It gave an error for f, and it also gave a note that we appended to use type dict or dict str any for unpacked keyword arguments. Well, I guess that's all we should need in this issue. So we are adding a node. Note: we should not generate a single error message because we need to check. We need error messages for each of these types, right? Okay, so yeah, we need to add. We need to explain that MyPy is matching all of these unpacked arguments. That is a int, b string, c bool against all of these arguments of the function a int, b string, c bool, d vector, f vector, and it gets an unmatching at f int and f vector. Cool. So this is a documentation thing. Um, I guess that will not be tackled in the stream. This is a restructured text in which we can embed Python code using this code block directive. This directive is only for strings, right? So for common issues, I will just add another issue that is unpacking uh, dictionary in keyword argument. So I've added a heading. Yeah, I'll add a code block as well. So packing a dictionary into a function labels events. And make ensure types of dictionary remembers by providing right or strna. For example, Python code block or dummy class. Yes, it is just my VS Code extension telling me which strings configuration to use. MyPy has two string configurations. This for MyPy C part, which is written in C. Let's go with just Python part. Yeah, let's provide an example that we have a function with some arguments ABC, which are let's remove boolean from here. We also have some dictionary of type strna that can so this is a valid function call. Let's also add some other dict, which is a type dict, right? Uh, So these are valid function calls, and we added documentation to it as well. Cool. So let's remove this. Yeah, this is fine. Yep. Let's commit and make a PR. Now committing, have I guess we saw the contributing file, right? That's probably provided in here. The template of a commit message. This is a nice document that one should read. Cool. So they don't have any kind of restriction on what should be the commit message, I guess. So yeah, I can add any commit message. I just have to mention the issue in it. So this is a pull request. I can just do this. So I'll state my changes for committing. This is the generated doc, how it looks like. Yeah, these are all Sphinx changes, documentation changes. Don't need to look at those right now. So this is what I added, unpacking dictionary keyword arguments, right? Vivek, are you in the stream?
Yes, I am. Hello. Yeah, Kaushal.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, can we extend the time by a little bit? Like, if I'm not done making a PR by the time,
Yeah, sure. We can.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be done, but just ensuring. Yeah, so all this took was one single line of code, but understanding uh, the whole code base is a huge task. And once you understand it, you can easily work with it on further issues. So I can work with next MyPy issues as well, and you guys can even like I can do another live stream like this for MyPy, or you guys can suggest other projects that I should do live streams on, right? Or in previous PRs, I'm just looking at what their commit messages were. Are they signing the current messages or not, and so on. Right, so commit messages don't need to be too descriptive. In some projects, they ask you to sign the commit messages with your name as well, right? This project is pretty lax regarding commit messages. Yeah, that's I did a huge mistake. So I made two commits, but they were straight to master. Instead, now I have to reset. I reset it the previous two commits, and now I need to create a new branch. Hmm, unpacking quarks, let's call it. The branch naming convention. That does not seem to be cool. So now I have to commit again. Push origin to my branch. Which I can see on my local fork. I just push to this branch. I can just compare in pull request, and always mention the issue that you worked on in the PR, right? So this is the issue that I worked on. Issue number 8874. Sources. Usually, I look at other PRs to see how I should format my own PR. Cool. So I can just add a note for red quarks. I believe there should be error messages from all in function dispatch. Hence, I have added just a note. Also, all issues. Let's comment this on the original page. Issue as well. Yeah, that's it. We can just create the PR now. So that was it. Now it's running a CI check. We can see the details of it. Mostly all projects have this CI/CD thing. Yeah, so now we have finally went from origin to upstream. I hope this session was informative to everyone. I do hope to conduct more such sessions in the upcoming future. This also pushes me to contribute to open source, and it also gives you all a base to start upon, right? If any of you have any questions regarding this, you can ask me. Will Yeah, Vivek, are you in the stream?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so we can start with the Q&A session. I guess I am done with the PR, right?
All right. So before that, I have few questions in my mind. So we should go with that.
Hmm. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So can you turn your camera for a moment?
Uh, yeah, just a minute. Is this fine?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so also, how can a beginner start contributing in open source projects?
Uh, I guess it's just getting a grip on your preferred technology is the first thing that I would say, and read documentation. If you would have noticed in this 2 hour stream, most of the time what I've done is I've read documentation or I've read code. That's it. All that I coded was just one single line, right? So read documentation, a lot of it.
Okay. And what are the some rules which one must consider while contributing in open source projects?
Uh, okay, that depends upon project to project. Right? From my experience, MyPy was actually very easy to contribute. There were not many restrictions or anything. While pandas, they have a lot of rules that your commit message should follow this format. Your code should be formatted. It might seem too much to a beginner, but for a seasoned dev, is actually quite convenient, if you ask me, because you don't have to spend much thought process behind deciding what your commit message should be like, because it's already given to you what it should look like, right? So try out big projects, try out small projects, see if you can make anything work. Yeah, or if you are stuck anywhere, you want to contribute to a project, you can always contact me or anyone on Gitter. I am also on Gitter. If I see your message, I'll definitely respond to it.
Awesome. And the last one. So, as you have recently shifted from academia to industry, do you think that having experience in working on open source projects is helpful in industries too? And how?
Yeah, I definitely believe that open source projects are actually a lot of industry giants push open source projects like Uber. Uber has the schemaless thing, which is built upon MySQL. It also has many other, it has some Go libraries and a lot of other open source code. Facebook built React. Uh, Google built Angular. Google has a lot of things. Like there's Guava for Java, which is a Java library for standard lib containers. Uh,
Kubernetes.
Basically, most companies contribute to open source for sure because it promotes their own software. It promotes development in the whole ecosystem, which is good overall for everyone. And add open source on your resume, recruiters will definitely be impressed, I would say. So I believe there has been a disconnect in academia and industry. In the if you're talking about universities in the US, their professors are usually for example, if you guys have heard of Apache Spark, right? I guess we also had a session on it. So Apache Spark was created in the academia. It was written by a professor working on his MTech thesis, right? And he made it open source. Now, this is an industrial level project. It's not an academic project, right? Yet it was created in academia. So, yeah, there should not be this kind of disconnect that if I shifted from academia to industry, I found something new. In fact, industry actually restricts you a bit in the sense that you have to write proprietary code for your employer. And academia gives you the freedom that the code you write can go anywhere you want.
Yeah, so thank you, Kaushal. And I would like to now uh, ask our audience so that if they have any questions in their mind, then feel free to put them in the chat box.
Yes, there are not many questions.
Yeah. So we also have uh, two projects on our GitHub repo of DSC repo, and the projects were of our uh, Android applications that we use to manage our events and registers. No, you all are coming to our event by registering on these applications, so they are open, and you can, if you like that, if you want to contribute to that application, then you can just go to our on our GitHub repo and fork that repository, and the URL is github.com/developer-student-clubs, and it is also available on the contact us page on our website. So if you want, then you can just start with that and see how it goes further. Yeah, so like we do not have any questions as of now, but you can also reach out to Kausal. Kausal, could you please share your email ID?
Yeah, sure. Where should I put it on YouTube, right?
You can just write in the chat box.
All right. So you guys can always contact me on my email ID, or you guys can contact Vivek or anyone from DSC. And yeah, we're always open for your inputs. This video will also be available on YouTube, I guess, right? After the stream
Yeah,
ends. So if you are watching this video and you have any doubts, you can contact us, right? If you guys need guidance regarding open source, then also we are open to help.
yeah. Thank you, Kausal, for sharing your knowledge and giving us all the process from right of beginning to end, and how should one start in the world of open source. Yeah, and thank you all the participants for joining this call. And I think, Kausal motivated enough you to say that you can just start working on open source projects. And by the time in the next year, I hope at least few of you can at least uh, start working on these areas. And we also have GSOC and all this kind of uh, like program by Google, so you can also even apply for that. And if you have previously worked on open source, then it will be a plus point for you. All right, so I think we should sign off. Kosa, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vivek, for actually providing the platform that I can reach out to students. DSC has been a great initiative so far. And as we've graduated, every year our batches are getting better and better, batches of students. And yeah, sooner or later, people from DDU will also be going into GSOC, I believe. Right? So yeah, good luck to all juniors.
Yeah, good luck everyone. Take care. Bye bye.